Hello Year 7, nice to speak to you again. I hope you're all okay and doing well. Now, last week you read this section of Beowulf on Grendel, in which Grendel comes out of the marsh, savagely attacks the party at the mead hall and takes the bodies of some of the soldiers back to the marsh. So we're introduced to the character Grendel. And you had to analyse a quote. Many of you said you found this quite hard, so I emailed some of you back saying, don't worry, we'll come back to analysis. And I've just spent half an hour recording a video to try and help you improve your analysis, but I've watched it through and it's rubbish. So until I can find a way of improving that, then we're going to go back to the story of Beowulf for this week. So this week's just reading 4 pages of Beowulf from the booklet from page 22 and answering the questions that I'm about to set. So you might want to read a page at a time or do them all at once, it's up to you, but there are 2 or 3 questions per page. So on page 22, which is where we start on this line here, the page Then a Proud Warrior. Where's the cursor gone? Just there. So on page 22, we are introduced to the character Beowulf, who the story is named after. Up until now, we've just learned about Hrothgar and Grendel, the monster that attacks Hrothgar's hall. But now we are introduced to the character Beowulf. So, after you have read this page, can you please answer the following 2 questions? Why does Beowulf come to Hrothgar's kingdom? Number 1. If you want to pause and write that down, or do them all at the end, it's up to you. And number 2. Whose kingdom does Beowulf come from? He's come to Hrothgar's kingdom, but whose kingdom does he come from? Okay, if you want to pause and write down the answer or type it up. Okay, you now need to turn over, which is what I am doing now, and read page 23. So, on page 23, Beowulf explains why he's come to Hrothgar, but he doesn't get to meet the king yet. He explains why he's come to Hrothgar's kingdom. He's not greeted by Hrothgar. Hrothgar is still on his throne, so he doesn't actually get to meet him. In fact, it takes a bit of a while for Beowulf to get to meet Hrothgar. So the 2 questions I would like you to answer, please, on this page. As I said, Beowulf isn't greeted by Hrothgar. He's greeted by somebody else who takes his message to Hrothgar. Remember, Hrothgar is the king or leader of the tribe, the Geats. So, who takes Beowulf's message to Hrothgar? If you want to pause and answer that one. Okay, and number 2. What does he, the person that takes the message, what does he ask what does Beowulf ask Hrothgar to do? So, in his message, what does Beowulf ask Hrothgar to do? Okay, if you want to pause and answer that question. And turn over, which I shall do now, and turn to page 24. On page 24, we are given Hrothgar's reply to Beowulf's message. Hrothgar describes what he has to say about Beowulf coming to his kingdom. So, question number 1, please. Can you tell me, how has Hrothgar already heard of Beowulf? Hrothgar says, yes, I've heard of him. I've heard of this Beowulf chap. Can you tell me how he has heard of him previously? Okay, if you want to pause and write down or email the answer to that one. And moving on to number 2. What is Hrothgar's reply? What does Hrothgar say to Beowulf's request. And you will have had to have answered the question on page 22 in order to answer this. You will have to know what Beowulf requests from Hrothgar. Okay, turn over now please to page 25. And finally, Beowulf gets to meet Hrothgar. Seems a bit rude, doesn't it? So you've got this monster that's murdered half your village. This bloke Beowulf sails from miles away to come and try and save you, and you keep him waiting all that time. But finally, on page 25, Beowulf does get to meet Hrothgar. So 2 questions, please. Before he actually gets to meet Hrothgar, Beowulf is given some instructions. On page 25, he's given some instructions. What are the instructions Beowulf and his men are given before they get to meet Hrothgar? If you want to pause and write that down. And number 2, how did Beowulf get to hear about Grendel? He has come to Hrothgar's kingdom to try and help him get rid of Grendel, but how did he actually hear about Grendel? Beowulf, that is. So how did Beowulf hear about Grendel? Okay, if you want to pause and write that down. Okay, that's it. 4 pages of reading and 8 questions, please. If you want to email me your answers, and I'll email you back telling you whether you got them all correct, or take a photo and email me a picture. I will send spellings and definitions later on in the week, but otherwise have a great week. Speak to you soon. Bye.